Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So, which verse are we doing today?
18, 18, 6, 3, 18.
18. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Bhutani Vishnoh Surapujitani.
Bhutani Surapujitani.
Durdarsha Lingani Mahadbhutani.
Durdasa Lingani Mahabhutani.
Shanti Tat Bhakti Matah Parebhyo.
Rakshanti Bhakti Mata Parebhyo.
Mattascha Martyan Atha Sarvatascha.
Mattasya Bhakyan Yata Sarvatasya. Hare Krishna,
Yes.
Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
The order carriers of Lord Vishnu, who are worshipped even by the demigods, possesses wonderful bodily features exactly like those of Vishnu and are very rarely seen. The Vishnudutas protects the devotees of the Lord from the hand of enemies, from the envious persons, and even from my jurisdiction, as well as from natural disturbances. Yamaraj has specifically described the qualities of Vishnudutas to convince his own servants not to be envious of them. Yamaraj warned the Yamadutas that the Vishnudutas are worshipped with respectful obeisance by the demigods and are always very alert to protect the devotee of Lord from the hand of envy, from natural disturbance, and from all dangerous conditions in this material world. Sometimes the member of Krishna consciousness society are afraid of impending danger of the world war and ask what would happen to them if a war should occur. In all kind of danger, they should be confident that their protection by the Vishnu Dutas or Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya prati janahi name bhakta pranashyati. Material danger is not meant for devotees. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Padam Padam Yat Vipadam Natesham. In this material world, there are danger at every step, but they are not meant for devotees who have fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord. The pure devotees of Lord Vishnu may rest assured of the Lord's protection. And as long as they are in this material world, they should fully engage in the devotional service by preaching the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna, namely Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. The Vishnu Dutas protect the devotees of the Lord from the hands of enemies, from envious persons, and even from my jurisdiction, as well as from natural disturbances. A very interesting point this one is. Nehabhikramo nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So if one is rendering sincere devotional service, then Krishna is observing it. Now, one important point to be noted here is that the devotional service should be sincere. One may not be able to execute it well, but the intent should be very clear and very sincere. So even if there is some disturbance, Krishna will protect. But if one is doing it only as a formality, only out of boredom, then this devotional service will not have much effect. So one may have to suffer because of past conditioning, but Krishna is observing one's effort in the process. So salpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. The greatest danger is averted when one takes shelter of Krishna. Now, one important point is Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Now, how do we understand this? And the devotees also have to go through birth, old age, disease, and death. So we have seen even our acharyas have passed away from the material vision. So how do we understand this? What Krishna protects is the spiritual life. So what Krishna is protecting is our spiritual life. So so it's not that he'll protect the material body. Material body is meant to be destroyed. Pandavas lost all their sons. Arjun had 3 wives and 3 sons, and all were killed. So what was to be achieved from this? What do we understand from this? Pandavas suffered so much, so many insults and so many dangers, but Krishna protected their devotion, their bhakti. What is Mahaprabhu saying? Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tvayi. Bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tvayi. Your ahetuki unmotivated devotional service towards you. So that Krishna is protecting. So if we have some degree of sincerity in serving Krishna, Krishna will protect that. The body is anyway going to be destroyed. So here, now there's another interesting verse in this regard, which Prabhupada is quoting here. This verse in the purport, this is actually coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter, 58th verse. Samashita ye pada pallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho mirare. Mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam budhir vats padam param padam 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 yat vipidam na tesham. So what does that mean? Yeah. 1.5. So Krishna, so now if you see the translation, then you will understand this very clearly. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of Mura demon. The ocean of material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Now, if you pay very careful attention, this will be like a very revealing verse. The meaning is quite opposite of what you might have thought. So the material world becomes like a water in the hoof print of a calf. What does that mean? That means the material duration is reduced. That means there won't be any more material stay. So Krishna will protect one from material life itself. Great Vaishnavas do not desire to live any further. Material world means every moment there is suffering only. So there is anyway suffering. Adhibhautik, adhidaivik, adhyatmik, that those sufferings are already there. But for a devotee, the suffering is separation from Krishna. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravarshaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. So this separation from Krishna is very much unbearable for the devotees. Therefore, a devotee does not aspire to live very long in this world. So therefore, one may have to suffer untimely death also. But Krishna will still protect one's spiritual life. That is what Vishnu Dutas protects. Yes, from natural disturbances also. One will not suffer unnecessarily here, but one's life duration would be definitely reduced because then he doesn't desire to stay in this world. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, then we continue. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam
Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam
navay vidur rashayo napi deva
na virvidu deva
na siddha mukhya asura manushya
na siddha
manushya
kuto na vidyadhara charanadaya.
Putuna vidya
Yes.
Mary?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Dhanva Pranam. Darshan proposed by Sri Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. Religious principles are erected by Supreme Personality Godhead, although fully situated in mode of goodness. Even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planet cannot ascertain the religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of the Loka, to say nothing of the Asuras, ordinary human beings, Vidyadhar and Jans. But when challenged by the Vishnu Dutta to describe the principles of religion, the Yamdutta said, Ved Parintuho Dharmaha. The religion principles are the principles enacted in the Vedic literature. He did not know, however, that the Vedic literature contains ritualistic ceremonies that are not transitional, but are meant to keep peace and order among materialistic persons in the material world. Real religion principles are Nistan Gunya, above the three modes of material nature of transition. Yamdutta did not know these transitions principles, and therefore, when prevented from ascertaining these principles, Ajamil they were surprised. Materialistic persons who attach at the faith of the Vedic rituals are described as Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita 2.42, wherein Krishna says, Veda Vedaratha, Pataha Nyaya Astit Vedanti Vidana. Suppose followers of Vedas say that there is nothing beyond Veda. Indeed, there is a group of men in India who are very fond of the Vedic rituals, not understanding the meanings of these rituals, which are intended to elevate the gradually to the transition path from the knowledge of Krishna. Vedas they serve Vidya. Those who do not know this principle, but who simply attach their faith in the Vedas, rituals are called Veda Matha. Hence, herein it is stated that the real release principles of the is that which given by the Supreme Personality of God. The principles are stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharma Prajanti, Maam Ekam Sarvam. One should give up all the other duties and surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the real religious principles that everywhere knows about. It should follow. Even though one follows Vedic scriptures, one may not know this transition principles, for it is not known to everyone. It is nothing to human being. Even the demigods in the personal systems are unaware of it. The transition religious principles must be understood from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly or from his special representative, as stated in this verse. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dhanmad
Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. So, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, see, Krishna is telling in the Bhagavad Gita that one who knows the purpose of what is the purpose is served by a well of water is at once served by a great reservoir. So, likewise, one who knows the purpose of the Vedas at once understands the meaning of the Vedas also. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedya. I am to be known from the Vedas. Vedanta krit vedvid evacha aham. I am the compiler of the Vedas and the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna is beyond the Vedas. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas are dealing, the Vedas are actually meant to keep peace in the material world. See, materialistic people, material world, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna, Mam Evya Prapadyante Punarajanmana Vidyate. So from topmost planet of Brahma down to the lowest planet system, actually all the living entities are lusty living entities. Varieties, degrees of lust. In the lower species of life, this is very gross lust. In the more subtle species of life, the lust is very subtle. So even at the very high stages of material life, which is in the planet of the sages, which are way beyond even the heavenly planets. Here also the degree of lust still remains. The desire to remain independent of the Lord is still existing, and therefore it is still within the material world. So we define lust as a degree to which the living entity wants to stay in the material world. Actually, if you see, logically speaking, that's the real definition of lust. The degree with which one remains attached to the material nature. So, this lust, like for example, for most of people like us, we are struggling. Krishna is saying, Manashasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. We are struggling with very basic material necessities. But at a higher level, these necessities don't even exist. Like if you see Anima Siddhi, Laghima Siddhi, these siddhis are phenomenal. They're fantastic. And in the highest stages of yogic meditation, of samadhi stage, of bhakti, of Ashtanga Yoga, one practically suffers from none of the material disturbances which we describe. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These do not really affect high level sages. However, in the absence of love of God, the living entity still remains in the material world, within the domain of Maya. Now, we may think Maya as some fantastic material attraction. Oh, Kanaka Kamini Pratishtha, women, wealth, fame, these things. No, actually, material attachments go beyond this. These are very gross. At higher level, one becomes almost completely freed from even these. But still, the desire to remain distinct from Krishna remains there. Very, very subtle lust. The very first covering of ignorance, forgetting our relationship with Krishna, accepting the material body to be this real self. So these are the subtle coverings of ignorance, forgetting our relationship with Krishna. So, just a moment, please. Yeah, sorry. So, so this subtle covering of ignorance still remains there, and the living entity is unable to achieve the supreme Lord. The real secret of bhakti is explained in Bhagavad Gita only, Shrimad Bhagavatam. Shrimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan. So becoming free from material attachments is also a sort of egoistic conception that I am freeing myself with my own efforts. So that is also a materialistic conception. That's also an egoistic conception. So one has to even become free from this. Krishna, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Manasa Deha Geha Jo Kichu Mora. Actually, a devotee doesn't even want freedom from material miseries. A devotee simply wants to serve the Lord. Yatha tatha va vidhatu lampato mat pranathastu sadeva na para. So, we do not even want liberation from material sufferings. A devotee simply wants to serve the Lord, and that is real dharma. But that no Vedic processes are teaching. If you see Krishna's pastimes, actually they are violating practically all the Vedic principles. But still they are glorified by the highest of sages, because that's the process of religion. That is real religion. So therefore, Krishna is advising also Arjun, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. The Vedas are only dealing with the three modes of nature. At the very highest, the Vedas are dealing only with material. The Vedas are only dealing with the three modes, mode of goodness at the highest level. But Krishna is advising Arjun to be even beyond that. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments? Text 2021. Swayambhur Narada Shambhu
Swayambhu Narada
Shambhu
Shambhu
Narada Shambhu
Kumara Kapilo Manu
Kumara Kapilo
Nara
Manu
Kapilo Manu
Prahlado Janako Bhishmo
Prahlado Janako Bhishmo
Bhishma
Balir Vayasakir Vayam
Valir Vayasakir
Sakir Vayam
Vayam
Dvadashayate Vijanimo
Dvadashayate Vijanimo
Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhata
Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhata
Bhagavatam Bhata
Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham
Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham
Durubodham
Yad Gyatvam Ashnute.
Yam
Yam
Jnatvam Ashnute.
Ashnute. Read Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Translation and purport by Shivan J. Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Narada Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential, difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if they, by chance, one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated. Thus, he returns home back to Godhead. Perfect. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavata Dharma as the most confidential religious principle. Sarva Guhyatamam Guhyataram. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, I am explaining to you the most confidential religion. Sarva Dharman Parityatya Mam Ekam Saranam Bhuja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamaraj states herein that this religious principle is understandable if one follows the Parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and the other standard authorities. There are 4 lines of disciplic succession, one from Lord Brahma, one from Lord Shiva, one from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and one from the Kumaras. The disciplic succession from Lord Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya. The succession from Lord Shiva, Shambhu, is called the Rudra Sampradaya. The one from the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi ji, is called Sri Sampradaya. And the one from the Kumaras is called Kumara Sampradaya. One must take shelter of one of these 4 Sampradayas in order to understand the most confidential religious system. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantras Se Nishphala Mataha. If one does not follow the 4 recognized disciplic successions, his mantra or initiation is useless. In the present day, there are many asampradayas or sampradayas which are not bona fide, which have no link to the authorities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, and Lakshmi. People are misguided by such sampradayas. The Shastras say that being initiated in such a sampradaya is useless waste of time, for it will never enable one to understand the real religious principles. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please continue the discussion. I have something urgent to take care of.
Okay. So, going further, Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, and the 4 Kumaras. Yamaraj is saying that we know the real religious principle. And my dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So, surrender unto the Supreme Lord is the supreme principle that one has to aim for. And all the practices that we follow, like chanting, reading Prabhupada's books, associating with devotees, going to temple, these things cleanse us one by one, bring us to the mode of goodness, so that we can slowly surrender unto the Supreme Lord and increase our love for Him, which is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. So as long as we are in touch with the material modes, it's very difficult to be uncontaminated, and there would always be something that is covering this or inability for us to truly surrender. It is very confidential and difficult this for ordinary human beings to understand. And if one, by chance, one fortunately understands this, he is immediately liberated. So, again, being Yamaraj says this is confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. So, what do you mean by one fortunately understands this? This the Lord says repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita that one has to understand the true nature of the self and then slowly transcend to the situation of the self with respect to Paramatma. And only then, as one purifies himself, then one will be able to develop bhakti and truly surrender to the Lord, where he finally says, abandon all religions and surrender unto me. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam saranam bhaja. So, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavad Dharma as the confidential religious principles. So, in the 18th chapter, he says to Arjuna, because you are my dear friend and you were in this difficulty in this war where you had lost, he had become disturbed and he did not want to fight the war. So he said, I'm explaining to you the most confidential religion. And he also cautions him that give this only to true devotees, pass on this knowledge to true devotees, but don't give it to anybody who is not ready to take this knowledge. But and then he says, abandon all religious principles and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is rarely understood, what is the use of it? So then, Yamaraj states in the religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system and in disciplic succession. Whenever one has doubts, one can ask one's spiritual master. And here, repeatedly, Prabhupada has said that everything that is to be taught, he has written in his books, and by deeply studying his books, verse by verse, purport by purport, one will get the same knowledge, and then one is able to surrender unto the Lord. Hare Krishna. Would somebody else like to?
Can I ask one question?
After that, please. Please, Prabhu.
Well, I want to know these four sampradayas. Do they also follow the same regulatory principles as we do in ISKCON?
Anand Prabhu?
The four regulatory principles which are followed in ISKCON.
Yes,
that
Prabhu.
Is,
as far as I know quite a few people, since my family is from Sri Sampradaya, the principles are the same.
This is why I'm asking you. So those sampradayas, they also follow non-veg, non-drinking, and extra master. Okay.
Of course, there are many people who would not follow, but definitely that is what is recommended, and that's what.
Famous statement is there, Abhishek Prabhupada, like someone asked why these four regulatory principles. So then Prabhupada says that this brings you to the platform of real human being.
That's okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, that is the first step actually. So all the four bona fide sampradayas are following the same thing.
Also, the beginning of Bhagavatam, it comes to where in Kali Yuga, Kali says, where can I reside? And this would be the four places where, multiple places you can reside, and these are the one of four of the places. Of course, many more are there, like gold and many more things, which I think it's good to brush that up again, but definitely it's explained there.
Remember, in the IDC course, we have that four principles of Dharma.
Okay.
So that is the four regulatory principles, four pillars of Dharma.
I just want to get particular clarification that other sampradayas are also doing it. And Prabhuji has been in Sampradaya, so I thought especially wanted to ask from him. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Are you going?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I'm audible? Okay.
Yes.
You are reading.
Yes, Prabhu.
I have a similar questions like Prabhuji. That our sampradayas, our authoritative scriptures are Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So maybe Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in our sampradaya, we follow Chaitanya Charitamrita. So are these other three sampradayas, they are following these two main scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam as their authority, or any they follow other Ved or like some other Puranas?
Okay, again, I can explain to you from Sri Sampradaya that the main scriptures are Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. There is good emphasis to Ramayana also, where there is like Sundara Kandam from Hanumanji as one of the greatest devotees as to how that draws a parallel to us. And the most confidential, like Chaitanya Charitamrita is the confidential knowledge. In terms of bhakti or devotional thing, the alvas, there are 13 alvas, like including, so they have sung 4,000 devotional songs. These then are considered to be the sacred texts or things that people should study. And of course, you cannot study them directly, you can recite them, but there are many acharyas who have written quite a few commentaries on that, which then get discussed or taught. That answers your question, Paul?
Yes.
Like, I think Prabhupada quotes quite a bit from Kulashekhara Alvar and Mukundamala Stotra. So that's one of the Alvars that's quoted because he wrote his poems in Sanskrit. The remaining 12 Alvars, all the devotional songs are in Tamil. So, which is why it is not as widespread outside of Tamil Nadu because it's not in Sanskrit or any other language, it's in Tamil.
Maharaj Kulshekara also is one of the Alvars, no?
Yes, and he did sing. He is a great bhakta of Lord Ram. He sang Mukundamala Stotra in Sanskrit, and he has sung some songs in Tamil. So it's a mix of both. But that which is in Sanskrit is known outside, but that which is in Tamil would not be as well.
So, like Mukundmala Sutra is one of the Alvar songs, we can say, that is common, which is accessible for other sampradayas also.
Absolutely.
One common thing I found that I had once came across a text where I will try to find if I get it again, the main scriptures of the four sampradayas. But I found one thing in common. Everybody had common Bhagavad Gita as common.
For sure.
All the four sampradayas had Bhagavad Gita in common. Some people had Bhagavatam, some had not Bhagavatam, somebody had Purana. Ramayana, as Prabhuji said, in some sampradayas. But then Bhagavad Gita was common in that. I'll try to find that finding. Try to share with you.
I think Prabhupada, in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, you can see that he is referred to Gita Ta Sangraham and Ramanujacharya's Gita Bhashyam also. So I think that way you would see quite the commentaries to be very, very similar. And so that way it is quite, the message is the same for you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that insight from the Sri Sampradaya.
I think even a few days ago, I think I was listening to Keshavanand Prabhu's fourth chapter. He refers to Gita Ta Sangraham from Alavandar. So he is Ramanujacharya's guru, and he concedes the entire Bhagavad Gita into total of 32 slokas only. And so, I mean, that you can imagine if 32 slokas, of which the last 10 are repeats, only in 22 he captures the entire essence. So, and it's quite concise but full of meaning. So, so no further questions. We stop for the day. We continue again Monday.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, all the devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thunder Pranam to all devotees.